Good evening, all. It's 6:30 as promised. I'm here. I'm Ruchira, your host for the session today. And on behalf of Shimanli, I would like to welcome you to this webinar, Enhance Creativity, Integrate Arts into Teaching and Learning. We all as educators aim to create future-ready citizens who are problem solvers and are able to take right decisions. In this endeavor, it is critical that we focus on skill development. As I'm sure all of you agree that skills are something that our learners are going to carry with them lifelong. It is important for us that we constantly are able to engage them meaningfully in the learning process. And hence, it is important that we bring in creativity into the process. Among multiple other methodologies that we may focus on, integrating arts into the process brings in the creativity that would keep them motivated throughout the process. And we have on board two such artists, entrepreneurs, educators who will share their expertise and experience with us in a session that I am personally looking forward to, and I'm sure you all too are. So before we begin, I would first like to thank Shimanli for providing us this platform where we all can come together, discuss our ideas, interact with each other, and learn from each other. Let me first introduce Shimanli to you. Shimin is a Japanese word that means citizen. And Shimanli is an edtech platform that aims to create global citizens. Shimanli provides skill-based programs to both schools and individuals with the belief that students need holistic education to shape up as resilient, confident individuals who are ready to prosper in the real world. With a vision to create these future-ready citizens, Shimanli provides lessons to students that focus on the development of life skills and academic skills with professionally trained teachers from across the globe. The idea of giving the best education to the future citizens raises this thought of getting the educators together, making them interact and learn from each other. And hence we have today's webinar and many more such webinars coming in place. Without further delay, I would like to introduce you to our speakers for the day. Prior to this, I would just like the audience to be aware that the mic access will be given to you as and when required during the interaction. Any points that would require our attention may be put down in the chat box, and our speakers shall take it up towards the end of the session. And here I introduce them to you. We have on board Ms. Anuji Pillai. Ms. Anuji is an entrepreneur since 2018. Kids, teaching, sharing knowledge have always been the things that she is passionate about. Being a software engineer, she quit her job and became a full-time mom for her 3 boys. In 2018, she started a performing arts studio. She's also in classical dance forms, Bharatanatyam and Mohiniyattam. She has choreographed numerous dance projects for kids, schools, and adults. Anuji is the investor and director of operations at Abheri Roots, an arts production house founded in 2020. A recipient of Emerging Women Entrepreneur Award 2019 by the Talk Big Ideas Kochi. Currently, she's a facilitator at the Choice Schools Kochi, engaging both early years and PYP students. Welcome, Anuji, and we look forward to share your experience and expertise with us today.
Thank you, Ruchira. Thank you.
We have our next speaker, Vaishak. Vaishak Raj is a creative choreographer, entrepreneur, producer, and writer settled in Delhi, India. He's done his training in Kathakali, Mayurbhanj Chau, and contemporary dance forms. He has a strong forte in creative writing, dramaturgy, and screenplay writing. Development of a conceptual lens to have different perspectives to work remains a standout way of his creative endeavors. He has been trained in martial arts and yoga. He is an alumnus of Sainik School, Kerala, and a science graduate with keen interest in entomology and pathology. He has been conferred with several full scholarships in the field of dance, creative writing to pursue his advanced training. Vaishak currently is a dance facilitator at DPS International School, Gurgaon, engaging both MYP and PYP students to develop their artistic voice and choice. He is also the assistant IBDP CAS coordinator at his school. He's been the creative head for British Council's project Imperfect Circle. He's received a special invitation from Dance Base Edinburgh to pursue a course in dance dramaturgy. And it doesn't end here. I have a lot more to talk about Vaishak. His individual choreographies include Change, Fragrances, Evading Episodes, and many more. He has had a solo dance piece, Evading Episodes, at the Latitude International Performing Art Festival in Santa de Cruz, Bolivia, and an Austral Performance Art Festival in Buenos Aires. His recommissioned work, Eclipse, was recently selected for the parent edition of the Prana Festival. His full-length work, Ephemeral Fragrances, was selected and premiered in the prestigious Sangeet Natak Academy as a part of Silla Performing Arts Festival. Vaishak was a finalist for this year's Prakriti Excellence for Contemporary Dance Awards, which was adjudged by the jury members from across the globe. Apart from this, his interest lies strongly in the areas of music, photography, and design. So before I talk about so much about him, I would like to hand over the stage to Vaishak, and I think he has a lot to share with us. And we are looking forward to this interactive session with you, Vaishak. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ruchira. That was a big description. I was just recollecting a lot of things. Okay. I'm so happy to see such large numbers after such a, I mean, like, I think we all had online fatigue, and I think so we are back at it with much more energy. I can see a lot of people coming in, and it means a lot. It means that we are looking forward to new learnings. Otherwise, I don't think so we'll be there in the evening attending an online webinar, of course. So congratulations to all of you, and that puts me much more and makes me much more nervous, to be very honest. Yeah, today we are going to talk something which is quite near and dear to my heart, and I think so. My life somehow, fell into it. So I think without taking much time, I think so I'll dive deep into the what we have today actually. So if I can have the first line. Yeah. So what is creativity? Now the moment we had finalized the topic, and we were deeply thinking about it, I thought, for before talking about integrating arts, before talking about bringing in creativity to our classrooms and into our learning and teaching practices, I thought, why don't we just understand what is creativity, what is our definition about creativity? Because as an educator, when I interact with my fellow educators, as an entrepreneur, when I interact with my fellow businessmen, as an artist, when I interact with my fellow artists, a lot of time I have seen and heard so many myths revolving around this word. So I just wanted to be very clear about what is our idea about creativity. I mean, you must have so many of your colleagues who, or someone who might have walked up to you and tell, oh, you are creative, I'm not that creative. uh, I mean, this is for creative people, I'm not that creative. Whenever I hear such a comment, I just deepen, I just uh, think, why did someone tell like that? uh, I mean, like, even before I started dancing, even if before I started speaking, I think so I still thought that I have a creative inclination to anything and everything what I was speaking and everything I was doing. So let's understand what is creativity. So my definition of creativity might be very different from what you have. So I would like to share my definition for creativity. It is nothing but, it is doing something differently just to break a monotony. I just repeat, it's doing something very differently just to break a monotony. And why it is needed? Because the very fact is, we are human beings. Just think about it. Like, I always quote, a lot of examples from my mom's cooking and from my kitchen. So you can hear that throughout my webinar. So just imagine, your mom serves you the best dish again and again and again and again. It's so special to us even today when we think about it. But moms are very creative about what they prepare. Just imagine the kind, because they don't want to bring in the monotony. Because as human beings, we have a habit of going into saturation and going into a monotonous routine very fast. Actually, to break it, anything that breaks it actually is creativity. So think about it. How many times have you brought in something new to your routine, a daily routine? How many things have you brought in to your teaching or to your learning? Everything is part of creativity. We need not be a dancer or a musician or a songwriter to be creative every time. Not required. If we can bring something new to break that monotony, yes, we are creative. So I think 33 people, as I can see here, who have joined the webinar. I'm sure you all are creative because you actually have taken a step to bring something new to whatever daily was happened to you, even if it is terms of learning, even if it is terms of attending, participation, anything. So the whole idea of creativity is now a big discussion. Like, I go for taking webinars across the globe actually, and wherever we get a chance, being an educator, I have the liberty of being called in to develop arts curriculum and everything. And there is so much a need for a creative curriculum. And I'll tell you why. Because if you actually see, the nature of professions have now changed. Let's look at the larger picture. The nature of professions have now changed. Today, we have so many startups coming. We have so many organizations which is restructuring their entire working global force actually. They now employers are very, very keenly looking to hire creative individuals. Why? There is a particular reason also. Because what we have observed is that as you know, the working population is becoming higher, companies, spend a lot on training people and, educating people and, making them aligned to the system. And but the retention is very high in many of the corporations. And it was found that, the retention is low because the workforce has become very stagnant actually. That's when there was a very conscious decision of bringing much more creative people into a working force. Because imagine a classroom, for that matter. A classroom is dynamic when you have a writer in the classroom, when you have a speaker in the classroom, when you have a dancer in the classroom, when you have a musician in the classroom. The class is vibrant, and everything and anything put to that vibrant community is adapted very well, and their retention is higher. So with this very particular focus, now there is a very, 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 what should I say, stringent lookout for a creative curriculum, and the entire pedagogies have been, revised over and above. And like, this is not only me talking. I remember when I was attending a previous webinar, something which is related to creativity, I was talking to a few of my friends actually who are into startup environments and who are investors actually. And most of them were telling their designation, like creative designer, creative producer, creative consultant. And I could see the word creative being in every. I think back home, if you have people who are working in startup environment, you can start asking their designations actually. A lot with the term creative has now arisen. So there is a need for creativity now. And creativity is no longer just music, art, and dance. It's much more and beyond that. So I'll just like to quote statistics actually, just to make things clear before I go on to the next slide actually. So recently, the National Assembly for State Art Agencies actually, they made a survey and they found out that 85% employers are now looking forward to hire creative individuals. And there was this particular case study why this was being made. Between 1998 and 2015, the GDP of USA, had risen and 40% of that increase was from the contribution from the arts and culture sector. Because we have a diverse population here, but unlike India, abroad, there is a lot of scope for creative professionals. I mean, everything is very much organized as a corporate system in terms of arts and culture. So the amount of employment opportunity, the amount of funding that comes in is huge. And we're talking in millions and in billions in some countries. So we are talking about a larger picture now. Now, how are we preparing our students for it actually, or our next generation to get into these such creative professions? So that's when I'm coming on to my next part of my topic. I think we can go to the next slide. Creativity through a curriculum. Now, I am a science graduate. Like, when I grew up, I always wanted to be a language teacher. Somehow I was very good in science, so my parents forced me to science, I would rather say, but no pressure. But I found myself into science. And then somehow life turned out, I found myself into arts. And always this thing in me was there that I wanted. I remember very clearly during one of my experiential learning courses in my college, one of the facilitators who came, they made us do an activity, and through that activity, I just found out that I love language, I love science, and I love dance, of course. And that facilitator told me that if you can find a platform where you can bring all these three together, that's your calling, maybe. And believe me, a lot throughout my life, I was just going, just understand what, like, I forgot this whole incident itself. But when I came into teaching, and I started my career with an IB Continuum school actually with DPS International. But when I reached there, you know, I think somewhere mid of that term is when I actually found this is the calling. This is where I can integrate. This is where I can draw interdisciplinary connections. This is where everything is possible. So when I see a curriculum, I see it in two ways, just like a tree. A tree is static in a place, but it is dynamic in its growth. I see a curriculum like that. The concepts we teach in any subject, like all of you here might be teaching different subjects, your concepts are the static portion, but your learning engagements and your approaches to teaching is dynamic in nature. And when you explore that dynamic nature of your curriculum, that's when you can add creativity. That's your scope. That's your first point to add creativity. So if I tell, I think so Ruchira is a mathematics expert. I think differential calculus has always been differential calculus. In science, if I talk xylem and phloem, the theories have been almost the same. Everything. So these concepts are quite static. Now, what approach am I taking? What kind of engagement am I designing to bring in that? That gives creativity. So I think we can go on to the next slide. Yeah. So a lot about creative, engagements are available in the net. I think I don't need to give that because then it'll be too much of a factual information here. I really like to pinpoint and take some experiences which I've heard, I've experienced, than reciting a lot of facts. So inquiry and provocation. I mean, those who are IB educators, they might be quite familiar with these terms. But I think inquiry, the pedagogy of inquiry-based learning has become quite famous now, and it is widespreading. And I truly, truly believe in it because I think the concepts that had retained in me by my teachers and in my learning process was through inquiry, if I look back at it. A very small example, when I was attending my first workshop, IB workshop actually, so my head of school, Ms. Rima Singh, who is also an IBAN and a PYP consultant, so she was, taking the workshop, and suddenly the word provocation came in, and so it was I'm very new to the education. I'm talking years back. So during that time, I was wondering what does provocation mean, and so she just quoted a small thing. Earlier I told you don't need to be very good in music, dance, arts, everything to be creative. What I'm going to tell is a very classic example of that. So she wanted, when she was teaching, she a grade 5 student actually, so in her class she wanted to teach, that unit was about space and the kind of space missions we have and everything. So the unit was completely about space. Now she had to introduce this, she had to bringing that introduce the unit to the students. Now what she did is something very, very clever, and I think so it's amazing what she did. So she bought a black box, and she bought a very black box from her house, and she kept it at a corner in her classroom at a very height. She covered it with a black cloth, and she was, that day she was so strict, and she was teaching everything, and between everything she used to run, and she used to look inside the cloth, like what is there. So lunch also she didn't go. She took half lunch, and suddenly she came in. So she did not leave that place where the box and the black cloth. And by the evening, the students really got frustrated, like, what is there in this black box? Ma'am is not letting us go anywhere near it. Like, what is there? And finally, in the evening, before the class was disturbed, she actually removed the cloth, and there was absolutely, the box was completely empty. And she brought in this concept of how curious the human mind is, how we like to know what is beyond our reach, and thus the whole unit was actually introduced. So this is a very creative way of actually introducing it. So provocation and inquiry is something that you can tap onto it very heavily. Second is interdisciplinary connections, actually, which I truly like. That's I think so. I fell in so much in love with education once I found this connection, actually, an interdisciplinary connection that math, science, arts, whether it's individuals and societies, language and literature, Today, all these subjects are, if you talk about a traditional school system, all these are very isolated subjects that, the science teacher meeting the visual art teacher is nowhere to be seen actually. But today we have diverse curriculums where these kind of collaborations are possible. You can draw interdisciplinary connections, and for the students as well as the teachers, it is a new learning experience, because in that process you're engaging, you are taking up something which is challenging, something that you have not done before, something which is not your area of expertise, and you're trying to integrate it, you're trying to develop a connection. There is always creativity in that speculation. Third is something which I want to I'm experiencing, and I'm practically I'm implementing in my class, is the use of a conceptual lens. Now again, we are talking about breaking monotony. Now the like if I talk, like I am a dance facilitator, so if I teach contemporary dance, now I'm teaching it again and again. Believe me, as an educator, there is a certain kind of monotony that sets into me very, very fast, even as an artist. This is something that has helped me. I change the conceptual lens. If I take contemporary dance, it can be contemporary dance to view modern perspectives, can be contemporary dance to uh, as a timeline connecting the past, present, and the future. I change the lens every time. And every time I change the lens, there is a new topic arising, there is a new strategy arising, there's a new engagement arising from it. So I think the IB curriculum, we have this beautiful um, transdisciplinary themes in the primary year program, which, when it goes to the middle year program, it transfers into the global context. These are your conceptual lens. Change your conceptual lens for the same, what should I say, for the same subject, for the same topic, or for the same unit, and see the difference. You will experience something quite new. And take conceptual lens which is challenging for the educator. As a teacher, if I take a conceptual lens which is challenging for me, that will push me to do something. Again, we are breaking the monotony, we are bringing in creativity. Third is service learning. This is something which I've during the pandemic time, I think so I have explored a lot through my subject in service learning. I would like to quote a case study which we were doing. So again, when we were taking dance, that time I understood, now it's an online mode. Now I can reach out to anywhere. The teaching and learning is now global, and so many things were running in my head. At the same time, the challenge is that, because I've never had a dance teacher who had taught me dance online, so this was something very new for me. So I took it up as a challenge, and through my students, we actually took a performance of a UK based artist, Akash Odedra, who is a BEM. He's a British Empire medalist. His work Murmur, actually, it's actually about his journey as a dyslexic child, and what all kind of difficulties he faced in a traditional education system. So it's a performance based on that, funded by the Sky Arts community. So we took that performance, we redesigned it. Now, when I took that, initially we thought that we'll do a critical analysis of this and then move on. But then I thought, why don't we do a service learning approach to it? I thought, let's address dyslexia in much larger context. And there began, and I think so that's the only thing I did. The rest, everything was student led actually. And the students came up with their own dance films about dyslexia and everything. And it was later sent to Akash Odedra company in the UK. And Akash himself, appeared in front of the students, being spellbound as to how, a grade 6 students can even think and do something like this. So that's, I think so, service learning has a much wider approach and a much wider accessibility in today's state actually. Third is problem solving scenarios. This is something very, very exciting. I may not be the best expert in this, but I have seen several educators, using problem solving scenarios as like miraculously, I should say, especially maths teachers who I've seen, who have, bifurcated from the ways of a traditional chalk and board math education. They give problem scenarios and, then introduce. So they use problem solving scenarios even for provocation, which is in a very creative way. The last is social emotional learning actually. So by integration of arts, now integration of arts does not mean that me as a teacher should sing and dance in the class. No, that again becomes another monotonous, and even more, I think it might be disturbing for a lot of us if we all start singing and dancing in our class to teach everything. It can be even, there's something which I did, I can share from my experience. During the online time, of course, the children who were receptive to my dance classes, they were taking it, but my major focus was on the cohort which was not engaged. Now, how to make them engage? Now, for that, I did a brainstorming activity, and then I did, I mean, that time I had introduced so many tech tools in my classrooms. I through Parlays, through Mentimeter, through Checkly, and I don't know what, but through that process, what I found is that, most of my students, they were interested in editing. They were interested in writing. They were interested in sometimes in organizing. Now, I had to devise engagements and I have to devise assessments where, I can tap into this. So when I went into a service-based service learning approach, and when I brought in collaborations between groups, and with the help of Microsoft Teams, we had that breakout room option, there were more collaborations between students. There was a lot of transfer skills happening. And the experience, whatever product that came out of that experience was really remarkable, because they had put in their best, because they knew what they were good in. And while they were collaborating, they learned something which their friend also was good at. So I think so that was the best approach, and we could see a lot of social emotional learning happening via that process. Now, there are so many strategies which we can include, but it all boils down to that one single point that I told. If you understand what is creativity, it is not about singing and dancing and painting. Creativity is about breaking that monotony. It's bringing something new or doing something very different. If you are doing that, then definitely, yes, you're creative. Give a pat on your shoulder, continue the good job, explore more options for it. And the next part of it is the actual skill that is actually being acquired in that process. And Ananji will be speaking more about all that, and how it is going to help us in such a very dynamic world, and with a price of so many creative professions coming. So as I'm my talk for the day, I just love to leave you with a small picture. We can just go on to the next slide as to what we see as a skill. It's time, consistency, and what we do comes into a skill. With that, I hand it over to Aniji. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. A lot of people are there. Thank you, Shiminli. Thank you, Ruchira, for this wonderful opportunity, for sharing this platform so that we can discuss, we can have some discussions finally on arts, So I would like to get into the topic. Ruchira, could you please give me the heading on the PPT? Yes. So the topic I'm gonna discuss here is the skills developed through learning arts. So we all know that in our school days, each subject that we learn or teach have its own importance in our future. You can take any subject. Let's take any subject like English literature. The language, it helps us to understand the language, and it can be used for communication, in career perspective, and everywhere. Nowadays, everywhere. Now let's take another subject, social science. When we learn that subject, we are learning about our past, our history, our current politics, our current geography in the nation we reside. Okay, so each subject have its own importance and its own it helps in us moving forward with our life. We have streams like science, commerce, economics. Every stream have its own subjects that lead us to future, right? But for many, many years, what I observed was arts were never a subject of discussion. We all enjoy arts, no doubt in that. We all enjoy arts. It was considered as an extracurricular activity. It was never the main subject in the curriculum. So I was very passionate. I am passionate about dance and music. So in my school days, I remember I did have a lot of people supporting me to move forward with whatever I am doing in arts. But there were a group of people around me who were always questioning my intention with arts. So they will always compare the artistic intelligence that I have with my academics intelligence. You got it? So it always questioned my growth, because I always think, okay, art, everyone need it, everyone enjoy it, but nobody is giving that value. If I score 100 out of 100 in science subject, then it's great. If I get a first prize in a music competition, it's appreciated, but they will immediately come to the academics. So I always find it, why is it like that? Why can't we bring all these arts into our current curriculum? Because it's true, every kid, every child in our classroom, as teachers, we see every child is unique. They are different from each other. But with or without arts, they can grow. It's true. But if we have a chance to enhance their growth by integrating arts to their curriculum, why not? So I would like, all the points that I'm going to discuss is well known to everyone, but it's not discussed in public more often. So when we discuss something out there in the open, then only the value of the subject gets cleared. We get to know about the subject more. Oh, it's true, it's right. Why didn't it strike me earlier? That happens, right? So let's see, I will go through each point and I will compare it with the arts and the real world thing. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the next slide, Ruchira. Creativity and confidence. So if we look into a classroom, if we ask a child to draw something, to draw a flower, something, we can notice that each and every child will be drawing his own flower. Like, it will be completely different from each other. Sometimes it's completely red, sometimes even black, brown. They have their own way of creative ideas. They have their own imagination. They want it to be unique and they want it to be different from each other. That's all they want. If the other person is doing a green leaf, they will be doing a red leaf. That's how imaginative they are. That's how creative they are. And they are confident about it, because since they are kids, since they are just in their growing stage, they are very confident about portraying their own talent. It can be music, it can be paint, anything. You take any art. When we ask them to involve in a particular art, they show that creative and confidence instantly. Okay, so how this helps in our real life? So when we come into a corporate world or an entrepreneurial world, what happens? We want to be different. This modern world required creative thinkers, right? We want creative thinkers in this world right now. We want to be different. We want to be unique. Nobody wants to have a repetitive stuff. So while we introduce our kids to curriculum through arts, creativity and confidence is unknowingly accumulated in them. They use it in the real world. They can use it in the real world. They will be creative. If they are asked to create a product for the company, they try to make it unique. They try to make it different from whatever that exists in that system. Understood? Next, let's go to the next slide. Patience and perseverance. This, I would say, from my experience, when I start taking class, like for example, mathematics. So kids are there, and everybody started making noise, and they are impatient. They don't want to learn the numbers, the alphabets, all these stuff make them crazy, go crazy. Immediately, I ask them to take out their drawing book and start drawing. Then there is immediately a whole class becomes silent, and they are so excited to put something creative onto the table. this happens because they want they want to do something different from others, right? And for that they have the patience. They know that if a child is drawing a flower, he or she know that it's not going to be perfect in the first try. It's okay for them. They're ready to try it again. If you're saying, if we give them a feedback, if we tell them, see, you can make this leaf a bit more beautiful like this, they listen. They are very patient about it. The same kid who were making noise when the regular classes are going on will be silent, focusing on the work they are doing. And they are persistent. They are very patient and very persistent, consistent about the work they are doing. They are ready to make improvement. They are ready to take up new skills. So these all, I don't have to repeat this again and again. These all will definitely help in when we come into the real world, because from the beginning as a student, when we accumulate all these things, these are in ourselves, right? So when we come to the real world, all these practices, we unknowingly will make it into we will apply it to the real scenarios, right? Let's move to the next slide. Expression. So we know that every kid have their own way of expressing their emotions. Sometimes they are indifferent, sometimes they are shy, sometimes they don't know how to express. They're simply confused. So when we integrate arts into their curriculum, for example, theater, or say drama, or say a simple dance performance, what happens is that they learn to express their emotions through their body language. So simply sitting on a crowd and listening works. It works really well. But what if they know how to make their body language positive? Just by making eye contact, just tilting their head and listening to the speaker. All these will help them when they come into a office perspective or in a career perspective, So that makes them unique from the other people. There are a number of employees in the company. When they do something like really, they understand. Their face expressions portray that they understand. They understand the problem. That is very important. So most of the time, expressions are nowadays expressions are like in a very static or indifferent mood. They don't know if they are tired, they sit like this. If they're happy, they sit like this. If they're sad, they sit like this. They don't know how to express their emotions because they have been pushed to the academics most of the time and not given much a stage to perform, to express their emotions. So I guarantee you, if you try to make them do something, see, this need not be like that the kid should be good at theater or the kid should learn how to dance. No, nothing like that. Anything they can express in a lot of ways. They can write, they can paint, they can sing, they can express in a lot of ways. They have to express. We have to give them a chance to express. Then only in future, when they have a issue, when they have a challenge, they know how to focus on the challenge and come up with a solution. They know that, right? Let's move to the next slide. Teamwork. The picture itself speaks. So whenever we ask them to do a group dance performance or a skit, drama, theater, whatever it is, they have to give space to their the person they are working with. They have to respect their opinion, value their opinion, their time, their dedication. They give the space and time for their co-worker, right? So apply this in the real office perspective. Similar thing is happening. When we know where to keep silent, where to express, where to sit and listen, know the scenario, all this helps in when we try to integrate art into our school curriculum like a main subject. That's what I'm saying. We do have arts, we do have extracurricular activities, but nowadays I'm really happy, to be honest, because in schools and colleges, it's already started. Arts matter now, that subject matter now, because we want something different. The old techniques, the old system is a bit of tiring and getting bored. We are already getting bored of it. So we want something new, some new vibe, some new spark. So this teamwork, coming back to this topic, so when we allow them to work as a team on a stage, they are also getting the knowledge of how to respect and give space to their co-worker, right? So that's the another point. Let's go to the next. Assessment in the sense, we know, like whenever we do something, be it arts, be it a general program, something like that, we will get feedback, we will be criticized, we will be judged. Okay, so being an artist, or when a child is given a chance to learn music or piano lessons or ballet lessons, something like that, when they try their best and perform on the stage, when someone come and tell them, see, I like the performance, but these are the things if you try to improve, it can make changes, it can make positive changes. As an artist, they will learn to find it in a positive way, because they want to excel the next time. So actually when you look at it, kids are patient, kids want our opinion. Actually, they ask us, is this okay? Is this performance nice? Is this drawing nice? What should I do to make it better? They ask us. So in the beginning stage, in their growing age, they're actually ready to be criticized, to be judged. And this judgment, this positive feedback will always make their mind open, so that they will when they get a chance. For example, they are presenting a paper in the company, paper presentation is happening, and when one of their colleagues is saying, see, example, take my example, say, Anuji, if you try to make this way, it can be better. Then instead of being aggressive at the comment, I can actually receive it and work on it. So that open-mindedness we learn by practicing art. And as you know, art, to practice art, there is no age limit. Can start when you're 5 years old, 50, 80, whenever you can start, you can start. And as a teacher and as fellow teachers, I would like you to focus. If you have a kid in your class who is interested in a curricular activity, extracurricular activity, give a little push to them and see where they reach, because every child is an artist. They just don't know how to express that. We should guide them. We should find the artistic talent in them. Sometimes they can be good at they can be good at drawing. They can be good at playing chess. They can be good at writing. Some talent will be there in every child. As a teacher, as a educator, I would suggest all of us to just find out that potential in a child and to guide them to attain more knowledge. Thereby, when they come out as a adult in their real world, it will be easy for them. They'll become a survivor. They will survive through problems. They will always find solution. They will love challenges. They will move forward. I'm talking all this from my experience. I am not a perfect human, I know that, but I am a survivor. So we always survive, we always find solution, we always move forward. Even if we fall, we take time, we get up, dust off, then move ahead. That's what we do. That's what I learned as an artist from my childhood. So if you get a chance to teach that, guide that to one student in your class, they will reach heights. That's what I want to say here. That's all. I hope I was able to get to all of you. I just want everyone, I'm really happy because finally I'm getting a chance to speak about arts. It's been in my mind for years and years. I was like, why nobody is talking about it? And now finally we are talking about arts and it matters. That's all. Thank you, Ruchira.
Wow. Thank you, Anuji. Thank you, Vaishak. I think we've got multiple insights into how you've been able to integrate arts into teaching learning, and how does it help to develop skills. And I believe our ultimate aim has to develop skills amongst our learners, because, as you say, they have to become the survivors and they have to help the community survive. So to be able to help that, I'm sure when you were talking of the example of giving them tasks for mathematics and English and sciences in the class, they would find those monotonous. And I recall one activity from my grade 10 class. I remember teaching them graphs, sine graphs and cosine graphs, which usually are very tough at the grade 10 level for the students. And how do the graphs change, the transformations that happen with those graphs. So I had asked them to either create a music piece or dance on it, and they had joined hands and formed those waves and curves and performed on stage for that. So this is just one way that they would remember it throughout. See, we don't want them to remember topics that they may not use them throughout. We want them to remember those skills. Meanwhile, they were doing this process, they were talking about this process. The best thing was that they developed was, open-mindedness to accept each other's ideas, teamwork, communication. How do I express myself? They become strong with their emotional intelligence. They become self-aware. So many of these skills develop while the kids are practicing these, the ways that we bring in the teaching learning process in our classes. I'm sure there are multiple teachers here who have been practicing wonderful ideas and methodologies like this in their classes. So I would like to request, questions from the audience, or any point of interactions. These may not be directly questions, because all of us are learning from each other. And trust me, this is not a platform that we've got to talk about something, as Vaishak has already said, which may be available on the internet. We just want to interact with each other. We just want to gain the best practices, learn from each other. So if any of the audience would want to share their experiences, how they have brought in skills into their classroom, how they have integrated different subjects to be able to bring creativity into their classrooms and their teaching learning practices, may I request the audience to come forward and interact. So right now, see, our audience are also too shy, maybe, or tired after a long week, I understand.
That may happen.
Yes, but I'm glad to see so many of us joining, and so many of us coming in together, at least on this platform. I really hope there are certain questions or interactions that come in from the audience. In the meanwhile, we'll also do share a feedback form on the chat box, where you can put in your feedback and let us know what are the topics that you would want to have future sessions on, can we interact further. Okay, the feedback form link is on the chat box. It will also be mailed to you on the registered email IDs. And since I do not see any questions, speakers, is that okay for us to wind up the session for the day?
Absolutely fine. They don't have questions. So then.
Sure, Ruchira, sure.
Sure. Okay. Thanks everyone for being such a wonderful audience. And in case you are seeking any support to integrate skill-based learning into your classrooms, I believe I can tell you that your answer is Shiminli. Shiminli offers demo workshops for students to understand the program better. And in case you look forward to connect with us, details will be shared on your email ID. Our email ID is on the screen right now. So please do connect with us, and these interactions, I think maybe if we have one-on-one interactions as well, we'll be able to bring in more skill-based education into the system. We together can bring in a change into the system, and let's join hands and keep doing that. Thank you so much, Vaishak and Anuji. I think these were wonderful examples and wonderful insights that you have shared about the topic that we discussed today. And we look forward to have such more interactions with you all in future. Thank you so much. And everyone have a great evening.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, everyone.